Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going to get into something super interesting. The connection between motivation and problem solving.
Oh, yeah, those two go hand in hand.
We've got some academic papers here that really dig into it. I'm excited to see what we find.
Definitely. It's one of those things, we talk about them as if they're totally separate, but they're so intertwined. Like, your motivation can totally make or break how well you deal with a challenge.
For sure. In fact, I found this really cool thinking aloud protocol in one of the papers. It's from a study with a wildfire simulation called Windfire. Basically, the participants in charge of, putting out these crazy fires.
Oh, wow, sounds intense.
It is. And this person is having a pretty tough time figuring out how it all works.
Windfire can be tricky. What were they struggling with specifically?
Well, at one point they say, I'm trying to figure out how the helicopters pick up the water from the ponds. Guess I'm not clear how to get trucks right to the fire.
I
They
see.
can practically hear them trying to work it all out.
Yeah, that's a great example of how motivation is directly affecting their problem solving. They clearly want to understand the game and be in control, but when they hit a wall, that motivation starts to waver.
That makes sense.
It actually relates to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You remember that, right?
Oh, yeah, vaguely.
Yeah.
From Psych 101.
Exactly. That pyramid with our basic needs.
Starting with, food and water.
Right. Then you have safety, belonging, esteem, and at the very top,
Self-actualization.
bingo. So in this case, the participants' struggles are tied to those safety and esteem needs.
How so?
They want to feel safe by, understanding the rules of the game, right?
Oh, okay.
And then feel good about themselves by successfully managing the fires.
Okay, that makes sense.
But when those needs aren't met, bam, it impacts their problem solving.
So they get kind of stuck at the bottom of the pyramid.
Pretty much. And that can really hinder those aha moments that come with, effective problem solving.
Oh, cool.
Now, there's another important factor here. The type of motivation they're experiencing. Is it internal, that's intrinsic, or driven by external factors?
Right, like rewards, that would be extrinsic, right?
Exactly. And one of our sources dives into those differences. It makes you think, would this Windfire player be more successful if they were intrinsically motivated?
Yeah, like motivated to protect the forest from those fires.
Exactly. Or would the promise of a high score, something external, change their whole approach?
That's a really good point. I wonder how that plays out in real life, too.
Definitely something to think about. It can even help us understand why we get stuck on certain problems.
Oh, yeah. Sometimes I wonder if I'm just not genuinely interested or if I just need, a reward to push me forward.
Totally. And that's the whole point of understanding these different forces,
Uh-huh.
right? To pinpoint what might be holding us back.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. There was another point in one of these papers that I found super interesting. Apparently, feedback has a much bigger impact on our motivation when we're dealing with a tougher problem.
Oh, for sure. Think about it. If you were that Windfire player and the fires were out of control, wouldn't a little feedback be super helpful?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes all you need is a little nudge to get back on track.
And there's a quote from the source that really emphasizes this. Feedback had little impact on easy tasks, but had positive effects on difficult tasks.
So it's like the difficulty actually amplifies the feedback.
Exactly. When you hit a wall, a little encouragement or guidance can do wonders. It's like a boost of motivation.
So it's not just about powering through. It's about recognizing when you need that extra help to problem solve effectively.
Absolutely. And that brings us to another key factor, achievement motivation. It's that inner drive, that push to succeed.
Oh, yeah. That fire in your belly.
Exactly. McClellan's theory really highlights this concept, and you can totally see it with that Windfire participant. Remember what they said? Guess I'm not clear how to get trucks right to the fire. Okay, one fire's been extinguished, but a new one started in the same area. Even though they're frustrated, they're still focused on the goal, putting out those fires.
It's like they get a boost from extinguishing even one fire, even with the setbacks.
Right. That little victory likely fueled their drive to keep going, and that's what achievement motivation is all about.
It's amazing how all these forces are at play, even in something like a simulation. So do all these sources give us that one magic formula for motivation then? Like the key to solving any problem?
Well, that's the thing. It's not that simple. And that's
Yeah.
what makes this topic so fascinating.
So it's more about understanding all the pieces and how they work together.
You got it. Motivation is a complex thing. It's influenced by our needs, our goals, how hard the task is, and so much more. It's really interesting, actually. There's not like a one-size-fits-all approach to motivation, What works for one person might totally flop for another, and what works in one situation might backfire in another.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
That's why getting all these different theories is so valuable, right? They give you a framework for analyzing your own, motivational patterns.
So instead of just getting frustrated when I'm stuck on a problem,
Yeah.
I should try to figure out what's driving my motivation or even lack of motivation in that moment.
Exactly. It's like having a toolbox full of motivational tools, right? You just need to know which one to use for the job. Like, let's say you're struggling with a problem that's got you feeling totally stumped. Think back to Maslow's hierarchy. Are you feeling a little insecure about your ability to actually solve it?
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe you need to focus on boosting your esteem needs a bit. Or maybe you're feeling confused about, like, the rules or what steps you should take.
Okay.
In that case, addressing those safety needs could be the key.
So it's not just about pushing through. It's about figuring out what's holding you back and dealing with that.
Exactly. And don't forget about that intrinsic motivation we were talking about. Like, really tapping into your genuine curiosity and passion can be so much more powerful than any reward. It's like way more sustainable fuel in the long run.
Oh, for sure. I know when I'm genuinely interested in something, it's just way easier to focus and overcome those obstacles that come up.
Think about it this way. If you can figure out a way to make the actual process of solving problems, like, enjoyable for yourself, you're basically halfway there.
Okay, yeah. This is all making a lot more sense now. But what if you're just not feeling motivated at all? Are we just doomed?
Not at all. That's actually where it gets really empowering. Motivation, it's not some fixed trait, right? It's something you can actively cultivate.
Oh, that's interesting.
By understanding these theories, you can create environments and strategies that support your motivation. It's like taking control.
So we can like hack our own motivation. That's kind of cool.
It really is. It's about that interplay between your inner drive and those external influences. It's about setting the stage for those light bulb moments to happen where motivation and problem solving are just totally in sync.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting a whole new perspective on this for sure.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put all this into practice? Like, what are some things I can do to boost my motivation when I hit that wall?
Well, step one is to figure out what kind of motivation works best for you personally. Are you driven by achievement, a sense of purpose, or maybe even a fear of failure? Once you've got a handle on your own motivational style, you can tailor your approach, right?
So for someone who's all about achievement, like setting clear goals and milestones would be super helpful.
Exactly. And for someone driven by purpose, connecting the problem to, like, a bigger cause or a positive impact could be what really gets them going.
It's like a choose your own adventure guide to motivation. I like that.
You got it. It's all about experimenting and finding what works for you. There's no one right answer.
Okay, that's reassuring. What about those times when you're just not feeling it at all, like zero motivation? Are there any like quick tricks to jumpstart the process?
Absolutely. One that's really simple but effective is to break down that big, overwhelming problem into smaller, more manageable chunks.
That makes sense. I know I always feel less intimidated when I can just focus on one small piece at a time,
Right, and each time you finish a step, you get a little hit of accomplishment, which keeps you moving forward.
like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
I like it. Any other tips for getting out of a slump?
Another thing that works really well is changing your environment. If you're stuck in a rut, try moving to a different spot, put on some inspiring music, or even step outside for a bit just to clear your head.
Oh yeah, sometimes a change of scenery is all you need to get your brain working again.
Totally. And never underestimate the power of social connection. Talking to a friend, a colleague, or even a mentor about the problem can provide some really valuable insights. Plus, you get encouragement and accountability. Sometimes just saying things out loud can help you see things in a new light.
Like having a motivational cheerleader in your corner.
You got it. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. Lean on your support system and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it.
Wow, this has been like seriously eye-opening. I feel like I have a whole new way of thinking about like everyday challenges now.
That's great to hear. It's all about understanding those motivational things and using them to your advantage, right?
Definitely. And speaking of putting it all into action, I have one last kind of thought-provoking question for you. It builds on everything we've talked about, but takes it a step further.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
Think about a problem you faced recently, big or small, doesn't matter. Now, think back to how your motivation, or lack of it, shaped how you dealt with it. Did you jump right in, all excited to find a solution? Or did you, like, procrastinate, maybe feeling overwhelmed or just not sure where to start?
That's a good point. Sometimes just being aware of those patterns is like the first step to becoming a better problem solver.
Exactly. If you can pinpoint those moments where your motivation dips or those limiting beliefs that hold you back, you can start to figure out ways to overcome them. And the cool thing is, research actually shows that motivation isn't fixed. You can train your brain to become better at solving problems.
Or like a muscle, right? The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. So as you go out there and tackle those everyday challenges, remember everything we've uncovered today. Tap into that inner drive, seek out support when you need it, and don't underestimate those aha moments.
And remember, problem solving doesn't have to be a drag. With the right mindset and a little motivation, it can actually be rewarding, even enjoyable.
Well said. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those brains working.
Farewell, everyone. And may your problem solving adventures be filled with tons of motivation.